for the cat.
Yeah.
Okay, let me present my 3 words for today. So the first one is patient zero. Patient zero is the first person to be infected during an epidemic, and as we said, epidemic from last time. It's when a particular disease appears in a large number of people at the same time. So some examples from Cambridge University, from Cambridge Dictionary, sorry. Scientists were hunting down patient zero who first developed SARS. Or the authorities have so far been unable to trace patient zero. So this trace patient zero is a good collocation for someone to use. So that was the first word. Then we have something that it might be connected to it, but it doesn't mean that the patient zero is always a super spreader. It might not. So a super spreader, okay, this compound word from super and spreader. It's someone who infects many more people with the disease than most other infected people do. And in fact, there is, as I was researching for the word, there was this infamous case of some woman, Mary Mallon, who infected 51 people with typhoid. And the interesting thing was that she was asymptomatic herself. So this is quite, interesting because a lot of people who might be COVID-19 carriers, they are asymptomatic, but they might be able to spread the disease. And another interesting finding was that some research suggests that 80% of transmission is driven only by 20% of infected individuals. It's quite a shocking number if you think about it. And some example, it's a few super spreaders appears to have transmitted the virus to as many as 10 people each. Okay. And the last one is community spread or community transmission. It can be found in at least 2 forms. And this refers to the process of an infectious illness that spreads through a large number of people in a general way so that it's difficult to trace the source. So we can say, for example, of 20 confirmed cases in the country, 14 were travel related, 3 were from contact with a confirmed case, and 3 were from community transmission. So the trace could not be established. And some other example, public health measures were put in place to slow the community spread of COVID-19. Okay, and these were my words for today. And now I give the floor to Laura.
Okay, thank you, Panos. So my 3 words of the pandemic, my favorite 3 words. First word is shielding. So shielding means to protect from risk or danger, coming from the word to shield, and a shielder is the noun. So that is a person who is shielding. And an example of a person who might be shielding is somebody who has an underlying health condition. Perhaps they have cancer, and here in the UK, the government has expressly written to them and told them that they have to remain in isolation with very, very little contact with anybody for 12 weeks, I think it was. And I, strangely enough, have my cousin was put into that category, as well as a good friend of mine. She was put into that category, not because they have cancer, but they have other big underlying health conditions. Yes, so it's strange how it affects everybody. Yeah, and a lot of people over 70 were put into that bracket. Yes, so actually just before I came on air, I got a call from my aunt, who is also in that in that bracket, and she said, "It's my first day of freedom today, Laura." Hooray! Yes. So my aunt and other people are no longer shielding today. Yeah. Okay. And then I've got two other words which are health related, medical related. So I have a ventilator and a respirator. So a ventilator, from the verb to ventilate, meaning wind from Latin, like breath. Yeah. And a ventilator is a machine that you put on in hospital that helps you breathe, assists you to breathe. Yeah. Okay. So it kind of does the breathing for you. You with COVID-19, it is it attacks the lungs and it stops some people from breathing. You get put onto a ventilator in the later stages of the disease if you can't breathe yourself. So this is a machine that is doing the breathing for you. And then you have a respirator, which is like a face mask. It's like a covering, which people perhaps in a factory might wear to prevent you from breathing in dangerous substances. So this is to try and prevent damage to the lungs. Yeah, okay. But this is a little bit different from the face coverings that we are being asked to wear. So a face covering is basically just to try and prevent spread of the virus, whereas a respirator stops you from breathing in, inhaling dangerous substances. Yeah. So we have shielding, ventilator, and a respirator. Okay, I'm just going to hand you over to Liliana now for her words.
All right. Thank you, Laura. Okay, I got 3 more words to analyze together. Share my screen. Okay, 3 words are particle, droplet, and stealth transmission. Okay, that connects very well to ventilator and this problem with transmission, disease transmission by these small drops that we create when we breathe, actually. So let's start with particles, okay, because there's a difference between droplet and particle. So the difference is between respiratory droplet and aerosolized particle. So there's a difference, and the difference is in the mode of transmission. Particle, which is aerosolized particle, is not the same as respiratory droplet. Particles are much smaller, basically microscopic. And for example, fog is a good example of an aerosolized particle. And such particles linger in the air. They can travel long distances and can be easily breathed into the lungs. You probably only encounter these aerosolized particles in certain conditions. And there's a very low risk of infection via aerosols for the average person. But as the study shows, as many studies shows, they are concerning because they can stay suspended in the air for several hours. These particles are a major reason medical workers are at risk, at high risks. Many medical staff, doctors, nurses were infected because of this. So let's move to droplet. Okay, respiratory droplets, on the other hand, are much larger, and they land quickly after being expelled from an infected person. So respiratory droplets, as mentioned, tend to land quickly on surfaces. The difference is that in respiratory droplet, respiratory transmission, the virus is kind of enclosed in a droplet. So they're much larger. And probably they land more quickly on the floor, but then they stay there for a number of hours, depending on the kind of surface. For example, on copper, the virus can survive for many hours, for many more hours than on, for example, wood. Let's move on. And let's see, stealth transmission. So early in the novel coronavirus pandemic, health experts suggested symptomatic people were driving most of the spread of COVID-19, the disease caused by the virus. But new study questions whether people who didn't show any signs of the disease are spreading it more than originally thought. According to some studies, stealth transmission contributed to the rapid rise in cases. So stealth transmission refers to the fact that people who have mild, non-discrete symptoms or are asymptomatic are contributing greatly to the spread of the virus, because they don't know that they are positive with COVID-19. They are unaware. Some studies suggest that 2/3 of the cases may be transmitted in this way according to the mathematical modeling. Many cases are mild enough that you might never realize you are infected. And that's why it's so, concerning at the moment. So stealth transmission is one of the most difficult thing to detect, because you don't know you're positive, COVID-19 positive. Okay, so that's the end of this words explanation. And so also for tonight, we give you some new vocabulary concerning COVID-19. We thank you all for watching. We thank everybody watching on Facebook, especially Irene. She's at home, still not with us, but she'll be back soon. And hi, Irene, come back soon. And say hi also to Mahmoud and to Ilaria and other friends watching. Okay, that's the end for tonight. I thank Panos for your words and for your participation. I thank Yoria, and thank you, Laura, and thank you from Liliana. We'll hope to, we hope that we gave you some new vocabulary and you learned some new vocabulary, and we wait for you next week, next Sunday, for new words. Okay, thank you all and goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.